Hello, it's us again.
Hello.
Doesn't seem that long ago we did the last one, does it? So, what number are we on? 6.
We're on number 6 of the top 10 reasons for failing the driving test. So this is the DVSA who have released these top 10. Let's just go through them quickly to remind you. We have number 1, junctions observations. 2, mirrors changing direction. 3, control steering. 4, junctions turning right. 5, moving off safely. 6, response to signs, traffic lights, which is what we're going to do today. And 7 is move off control. 8 is positioning and normal driving. 9 is response to signals, road markings, and 10 is reverse park and control. So we're on number 6. If you have found these fairly recently, you can find the other previous 5 by scrolling back further on the page
scroll
that
down,
you're on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Whichever group you're on. Yeah.
So we looked at this one. So just to remind you, today is response to signs, traffic lights. So we had a little think about this one. We also asked our little friendly group of examiners to tell us what is going on in their world in terms of what is how they're marking this and the faults that they're seeing. It's probably easy if I just read out to you kind of what they are saying, really. So this is the response from the examiners in terms of the traffic light faults. As far as traffic lights go, the most common response after passing a red light is I didn't see it. So not even necessarily the judgment of what to do and when to do it, but actually just not seeing it in the first place.
Okay. Should we look at them as we go along? So I've got a thought on that. Do you want to do them all?
Can I do it? Can I do it all?
Can, but I'll begin by going.
Okay. I can always prompt your memory.
Okay.
They do the opposite sometimes, so sometimes they are just meters away from a light and you and I, experienced drivers, would know not to stop when the light turns amber, and they do stop and end up being in the middle of the junction, so there's that bit of judgment. The next really common thing is not understanding filter lights is also fairly common, so not going on a filter arrow or waiting for the main green light to show. The other thing that is mentioned is turning right at traffic lights is very often misunderstood. So they either go when they are supposed to give way, or they don't move into the position that they should be, so preparing themselves in that little no man's land area and ready to turn. The other comment here is that that if there is a set of traffic lights with a green arrow for, say, straight on and left, and we're waiting to turn right, they see the green and of course off they toddle on a green that's not for them. The point is also made that of course this is not just learners, it does happen with other DVSA tests that are
Part
going
2s
on.
and things, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, should we go back to the beginning then? Go thoughts on so what was the first one? Told you I forget.
Oh, okay, it says the first one is
identifying it.
absolutely, just didn't see it, not stopping for
So I think that's quite important, isn't it? Because I think as instructors we can help them too much. So what I mean by that is follow the road ahead at the traffic lights, at the traffic lights turn right, blah 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 blah. Whereas we get them to identify the subject, as in the control, the junction, whatever, and then tell them which way they're going. That gives them more responsibility. Do you agree? That's something we've obviously spoken about before. And particularly if you're going straight on, the examiners won't say anything because you're going straight on. Whereas instructors, sometimes we do say straight on at the roundabout, straight on at the traffic lights. So we let them identify it, you're going to get a good idea whether they are actually seeing it or just being told it, and the examiners won't tell them.
So Blaine's point being that we take on a massive amount of responsibility without even knowing we are, because even right down to identifying the subject. So the prompty kind of questions that you might ask, like, you know, what are you thinking the lights might do? Oh, are they lights? Yeah. So you can see that we are prompting. So that is a good point about how much responsibility that we are taking. So the skill of recognising something without being prompted by an examiner.
So they don't know how to recognise it, they won't recognise it, regardless of whether that's test or after test. What's the next one?
The next one was doing the opposite, and of course stopping the car when you and I would have chosen that we've gone past the point of no return.
Yeah, so that's the point, isn't it? The point of no return. So that's something we tend to teach. We call it the point of no return, to say that, particularly for the new guys that might not come across it. It's to do with stopping distances. So I tie in with your theory, your stopping distances, put that into the real world. So if you couldn't stop there, then you'd carry on. You're not amber gambling because you can't stop, therefore you've got to carry on, haven't you?
I link it in to my emergency stop.
Yeah.
Because actually to be able to prove how long it takes a car to stop, but more importantly, kind of the feeling of actually stopping a car.
Proper emergency stop, you wouldn't want to do that on a amber light.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, the effects of somebody behind you and how we're not practicing emergency stops with people behind us. So to actually just stop a car at particular speeds, I think is really, really important.
So that brings in the mirrors, and again, that brings in the planning, doesn't it? So hopefully they get into a habit of seeing the lights, the green, whatever, expect them to change, look in the mirror, got a 40-ton truck behind them, I'm going to go through if that changes before this arrow or whatever point they pick. And then you don't get that indecisiveness, which hasn't come up, but I'm sure it's hidden in there, that, oh, it's changed, shall I, shan't I, and it's too late to do either now. So if you stop, you're too late, you're going to end up in the middle of the junction, or at least over the line, which is the offence. Or you're going to carry on, by the time you get there, it's on a red, again, the offence. So that planning before and making a decision before it happens makes you see it earlier, makes you look around earlier and look for all the clues. It makes
you a little bit more confident as to what your decision is either going to be or then ends up being.
Yeah, and so, you just stick with it.
So a number of my pupils will very deliberately and very appropriately go through an amber light because they've gone past their point of no return, and they say committed, and if you say committed in a really determined kind of a way, it makes sense.
That's much better than going
committed.
Oh no,
so,
and then you've got a problem then, haven't you? So
absolutely.
it ties into seeing the thing in the first place, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think. And I'm practicing that. A lot. Even on the green lights, going through a green light and saying now is the point I wouldn't stop.
Yeah. And then later on asking them, so where's your point of return, to see if they've got the right. And of course it changes with the speed, so it's quite a dynamic thing, and therefore it takes a little while to get a hang of, doesn't it?
And not just the speed, it changes with the people behind you, the weather conditions and all that kind of stuff. It's a massive skill in its own right, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's that. So that decision about stopping or not stopping. We have not understanding filter lights and not moving into the position to prepare oneself at the point where you do have a green.
I think the thing with the filter lights is that there's lots of different variations, and you've got the green blob, which you can then turn on, technical term. Green blob you can turn if it's safe to do so, and that includes right. A lot of people think you can't. So there could be a filter with that, but it won't come on until the other lights change. And there's certainly one in Portsmouth, on the test route in Portsmouth, where it's got a green blob, so you can go to the middle, and the sensors for the arrow are in the middle. So if you don't go up to the middle, the sensors don't come on, and it's so busy that you can't normally go unless the arrow comes on. And again, it's really important with pupils. But going back to general drivers, that one I can think of a test a number of years ago. The car in front went through, I think it was 3 phases, because the car in front didn't move forward. So the learner eventually just went round them and pulled up and thought, well, I don't know if I should do this, but we're going to be here till I die otherwise. So he went round, got bibbed up by the other person, lights changed, and away she went. And the examiner didn't even mention it. It was absolutely fine. So there is a misunderstanding and understanding sensors and things like that, because some of them will only come on if you get into the right place. So that's pretty important. And we've got one locally here, and where the right arrow comes on before the green for going straight on. And that's just, it's normally green straight on, and at some point the right arrow comes on. I don't know of any light the right arrow comes on first, and then the green comes on. And when that was first there, people were going through that, weren't they, quite a lot. Certainly one of my pupils did, not on test, on a lesson. So I was like, oh, I got caught out by it as well. So I think we won't sort of sit here and say train people for tests, but this comes back to what we said in a few other videos. It's test preparation. So if you've got these sort of systems around where you are, go and practice them until it happens, because sometimes the green arrow never comes on, or always comes on, and the blob's not on its own. And if they haven't practiced the different scenarios of it, then they get caught out when it happens. It's bound to be test, isn't it? It's always different on tests for some reason. So it's looking at those different places. We've been looking at places where they do tests recently for another thing, and some places they do tests in the country is not even a traffic light. So I don't know how you can't do it, of course, but you maybe that's the pictures or videos or something like that, maybe, because it's an important skill, isn't it? Yeah.
And I think that's the point, isn't it? That you can think that you've done, for example, turning right at traffic lights a number of times within your lessons, but if you've rocked up at the same or similar lights when the lights have been at the same sequence even, you're just getting lots of experience of one situation. So for example, if you're always rocking up when the lights have always got their green filter on, you just kind of keep going. But if you're always rocking up when the lights are red and then the filter comes on. You've never had the situation of the filter not coming on, but the left and the right's coming on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so not being complacent to think that you've just turned right at lights before.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, is that it for this one? I think it probably is.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see you for number 7 then.
7. Wow.
Oh, nearly there. See you later. Bye.